and let it roll away, roll away, roll away, roll away. Stay tuned, we got a lot to say. Consistently rolling.
Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Consistently Rolling. I am Leisha. Today we're stepping into something ancient, something every culture tried to explain, and something we're still trying to understand. And that is creation. And I want to say this in the most humblest way that I can. I don't feel like this story is just history. But I feel like creation is sacred. I feel like that is somewhere where many of us first met or realized God. And as we get started, I also want to express that this isn't about arguing beliefs. And it's not about replacing God at all. And it's most definitely not about even choosing sides. This is about curiosity, awareness, and finally giving yourself permission to ask those questions that we've always learned to silence. And I guess what amazed me most about this was when you place creation stories side by side, it doesn't feel divided. It kind of feels familiar. And that, I don't feel like that's a threat anymore. It actually makes me wonder how far God has been reaching and how long it was before we ever even had words to actually explain or express it. See, creation stories were humanity's first language. They were our way to answering, I guess, the same questions. Who made us? What existed before form, and what came before light, order, and breath? And no matter where you look, Africa, Asia, Middle East, indigenous cultures, it seemed like people were asking the same thing. It just was understood in different symbols or language. And maybe that's something about the human spirit. They were always sensed that there was someone behind all of this. See, most of us grew up with Genesis, light spoken into existence, humans formed from the earth, and life entering through breath. But Genesis wasn't written in a vacuum. It existed in conversations with older stories. I mean, stories humanity had already been telling about water and earth and the divine breath. And instead of that making Genesis less sacred, I feel like it makes me realize God has always been speaking in any language that people could truthfully understand. And upon doing my research, I found out, or I started with the Sumerians, which was one of the oldest known civilizations. See, they believed humans were shaped from clay by a divine source, earth, water, breath. And to be truthful, that image of clay, it moved me. Because when you work with clay, it's intimate. It suggests hands. It suggests closeness. It's like divinity, it wasn't distant. It was right there in the dirt, forming life with intention. Man. I also was able to do research about the ancient Egypt. Creation for them began with water, stillness, chaos. Then a divine presence rises. It brings light, order, and life. Water before creation, light after. And there's something holy about that. I mean, even when we go back to Genesis, it talks about the Spirit hovering over the waters first. It feels like silence comes before speech, like God meets us in the formless places first. I was also able to research the Yoruba tradition. And it talks about how Baltimore sends divine forces to shape the world. One pours sacred sand and another plants the first tree. Humans are formed from earth, then breath enters the body. Different names, but same sequences. And what I loved about this one was it was that creation isn't rushed. It was layered. It was collaborative. It feels like the world was forming slowly with spirit involved in the process. And when you place these stories side by side, it becomes harder to see any contradiction. I mean, different cultures just spoke different languages, but they all had the same structure. It keeps appearing: a divine source, water, earth, light, breath. Order emerges from chaos. And I think the real question, it isn't which story is right. I think the real question is, why did every human heart look up? Not just look up, but also have a sense of something divine that was there. That's spirit. That's longing. That's God reaching back. For me, it doesn't make God smaller. It makes him bigger, like beyond imagination. It opens up the possibility that humanity has always been responding to the same creator. We're just all describing him differently through different cultures, through different times. It means that God has always been present. I mean, even when people didn't have the same theology, maybe the creator was never limited to just one vocabulary. I mean, think about it. Even stories of struggle shows up everywhere, not just in Christianity. I mean, Egypt spoke of Set, and the Greeks spoke or told about the Titans, and Mesopotamia, they wrote about the rebel bands. See, many ancient cultures, they didn't frame structure or struggle as a moral failure. They framed it as imbalance, a certain tension that requires harmony, light and shadow, order and chaos. And maybe that's why these stories matter. I mean, because they show that humanity has always known that something fractures. And humanity has always searched for restoration. Hey, I'm not a theologian. I'm not a historian. I'm just Leisha, a woman waking up and curious to all of God's presence. And I'm realizing that creation is deeper than just one chapter in one book. But instead of fear, I'm just choosing to wonder. And in that wonder, it feels aligned and it's peace. See, I don't feel like I'm losing God. I'm just realizing how much bigger he has always been. And somehow that gives my spirit just room to breathe. I feel like I don't think people are questioning God right now. I think that we're questioning the fear. That they're trying to understand what they were taught without losing faith in the divine. See, the creation story, They were our first attempt to explain why we exist. And somehow, they're still speaking. And then I feel like the reason is because that at the root of it, every story has the same arc. We came from something. We belong to something. And we're not here by accident. Next time, I want to go a little bit deeper into the angels and gods, orishas, divas, and divine beings. Not the blur of belief, but try to understand why the same figures keep appearing across cultures and different times. And because maybe humanity has always been aware that the unseen world exists too. And I think that we feel the presence even more now. This is Leisha, and this has been another episode of Consistently Rolling. Think about it. Maybe creation stories weren't humanity competing. Maybe they were humanity remembering, reaching, trying to name the same light, just from different corners of the earth. Hey, whatever it may be, this is where real life keeps moving, and so do we. See you next time.